Hello Dreamer, welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to a timeshare presentation. I used the timeshare offer to get a really good deal on a New York trip. If you haven't seen my New York video, go watch it now and then come back. I'll link it right here. We had a great time in New York. And we got this room here at the Hilton Midtown for an insane deal, pretty well free. We have a timeshare presentation today because that's the trade-off of getting this room so reasonable. Now, I paid $450 total. Now, that's it. That doesn't have any extra taxes or fees on it, and I'm getting an additional 75,000 Hilton points. So that's pretty well the cost of the $450, roughly-ish. That's for a 3-night stay here in New York, and this location is fantastic. I did a little bit of research, and the average cost of this room would be around $280 a night, especially for a weekend that we are here on. So at the end of the video, I'm going to sum up general costs, what the presentation was like today, and do I think it's worth it for you to take time out of your vacation to do these timeshare presentations in exchange for a cheaper or free room rate. That's the general gist of the video. Is it worth it to do these timeshare presentations? The second is, I'm just curious about these timeshares. Hilton sells so many of them. They make so much money on these Hilton Grand Vacations. And I kind of want to know the marketing behind it. Who buys them? Who are they for? Do they make sense to really anyone? That's kind of all the questions that I hope to answer today. I probably won't be able to bring you along on our presentation. I pretty well guarantee it, but I will give you a detailed play-by-play whenever I get back. Okay, just got back. Gotta unload all the information before I forget it. First, let's talk about the experience of going to a timeshare presentation. We walked in and they checked us off from the list, and then we waited in a room for our salesperson to come in. I've heard that's pretty common. That's generally what you're going to expect. Then you're going to make casual talk with your salesperson. They want to learn as much about you so they can custom tailor the sales presentation to you. Our sales presenter was Emily. She was very, very nice. We were with a couple on the ride down after the presentation in the elevator, and they had a less than stellar experience. They said that their presenter was really dry and just really boring. Also, spoiler alert, we didn't buy a timeshare today, and I don't think you should either, but we'll get to that in a minute. After Emily learned a little bit about us, then she launched into some detailed planning as to how much we travel and how much we travel with Hilton in particular. Now, Brad and I travel a lot. I would say upwards of 60 nights per year. They didn't start us there whenever they came back to us. They had us watch a couple videos about some of the properties that they had. She went away for a period of time and then came back with a sales plan. Now, that sales plan is going to be your purchase price and then your yearly maintenance. Yearly maintenance fees are probably-ish going to be around the same cost per year, depending on whenever you lock in. So the cost is going to depend on how long you're locking in for, how many points you're buying, and that's pretty well it. It will go up, I'm sure, as the years go on. So if you got the presentation in 2024, 2025, depending on when you're watching this video, then the price is probably going to be different. Also, our price was for 35 years, so that's going to be different if you lock in for 20 years. lots and lots of options. That's why all the prices are going to be different, and you're going to hear prices all over the board, and they are not going to let you walk out with any paperwork. So this is all from memory right here. The price that we were quoted was right at $28,000. It might have been around $29,000. It was in that ballpark. That was for 6,000 points, and just in case this wasn't confusing enough, that bought you 6,000 Hilton Club Points. That's not the same as Hilton Honors Points. You can convert them, of course, but it's not anywhere close to the same thing. So, very hard to do the math. If you find it confusing, that's what they are going for. Also, on top of that price point, you absolutely never want to finance that. The estimated finance cost of that was about 14%. If you are thinking about a timeshare and you have to finance it, then it is absolutely not for you. That interest rate is insane. So it would only measly make sense if you can actually buy that package price out front. Now, they are going to, of course, give you some incentives that day to make it seem like it's worth it and to push you to buy. Our incentives today were 500,000 Hilton Honors Points, VIP status, and 1,200 Club Points. Now, a lot of the presentation is going to be a spiraling conversation about what those points will buy you, and it's hard for me to actually tell you per se because, of course, that's going to depend on the time of year you travel and general things like that. However, we seen for New York a property that would be around 400 to 500 a night was using about 1,000, a little over that, club points. If you do the really rough math on that, then that's about the cost equivalent of your maintenance in points that you would be getting. So essentially the points that you're getting per year on the package we were quoted, they're equaling the price that we are paying in club points. I'm even starting to confuse myself here. So around about, it's generally not worth it. I was curious whether or not it would be worth it for us because we travel a whole lot. And although Hilton is not my absolute favorite bunch of properties, you can't deny that they have a whole bunch of properties here. But if you want some proof that you're probably getting screwed in this deal, number one, Hilton Grand Vacations and Hilton Club are some of the most profitable sections of the Hilton company. That means they are making a buttload of money off of you. And number two is that they had us out here for a very small price to stay on this property. And so they have to be making quite a bit of money, and it has to be worth it for them to sell these to be able to have potentially 20 groups of people, possibly even more than that per day, doing these almost free trips through Hilton. So something to consider right there. If it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. Now, they will make it seem very, very worth it in the sales presentation. It will not be hardcore sales, but these are probably going to be very experienced salespeople depending on where in the country you get the sales presentation. So be prepared for that and be prepared to say no even if it sounds really good. Do not let them pressure you into buying the same day if it is something that you're thinking about. Go home and do some real research and real math. You can a lot of times buy these timeshare properties and points in the secondary market for a much better deal. You won't get the incentives, and that's what they'll tell you in the presentation, but you are actually paying for those incentives if you do the math on the total cost of that package. It all equals out in the end. So if it's worth it for you, and there might be some reasons why it could be. You might be able to business expense it in some way. You can also gift it. So if you have like a business, some of your employees might be able to use it. And you might be able to rent, as they call it, these club rooms at a discounted cost after you've used up your points. Those are some of the reasons why you might actually think about it, but at no point is it ever really worth it for anybody. It might break even, and for us, I think that that is true. I don't think that we are absolutely getting screwed by buying all of those points and such. I just don't like the non-flexibility of it. I'd prefer to simply pay as I go or use credit card points. There's always a better deal out there somewhere. If you have booked one of these presentations and you are concerned about it, you're stressed about it, then a couple things I want you to note. Number one, how much money are you saving by going to this presentation? Is that worth it to you? Note that they will try to sell you, but you can always say no. And you could always just not go to the presentation and pay for the hotel. You are not being forced to do it. Hopefully that helps whenever you're thinking about going to the presentation and you're kind of dreading it. Personally, my takeaway, I would do it again. It was only 2 hours out of our vacation and we got a great deal on this room in a great location. They will give you the worst room in the house though. This room is terribly beat up. It was pretty dirty. It had barely been cleaned. Our view is horrible. But as I said at the beginning of this video, we were paying a fraction for this hotel room than what we normally would, which is why I would probably do it again. I hope you found this helpful. I hope that it answered some of your questions. If you've done a sales presentation, let me know down in the comments. Also, if you have any questions, leave them below for me and I will try to answer them if I haven't answered your questions here in this video. Thanks for joining me. I'll be back shortly with another travel video. Until then, bye.